You can't save everybody. We all have brains. Use them. As long as you keep reviving these drug addicts, they will never stop using. Suffering from an overdose? Bull. They knew the risk when they stuck that needle in. Stop babying them and let them learn or not. This is out of control. I say lock them up and throw away the key. Or better yet, build an underground jail and let them dry out with each other. No food, no shower, no nothing but each other. I liked it better when they were overdosing quietly at home. If we quit handing out the Narcan so freely, the problem will solve itself. They'll just die. LOL. End of problem. You made choices that led you to where you are. Drug use is a choice. Cancer is a disease. These people are using the term disease as a crutch. No amount of medical research will change my mind over the fact that drug addiction is a choice. Drug use is a choice. Cancer is a disease. These people are using the term disease as a crutch. No amount of medical research will change my mind over the fact that drug addiction is a choice. If drug users get brought back to life for free with Narcan, why do innocent cancer patients have to pay for chemo? Sounds like a great way to cut down on drug use. Let them keel over. Also sounds like a solution for the whole death penalty thing. Just let them OD on heroin. Well, it's clear they don't want to get better. Let them die. I say 1 dose per person. If that doesn't save them, oh well. I have to pay $250 to keep an EpiPen for my grandkids, but these junkies get multiple doses for free. What a waste. Survival of the fittest, the weak will weed themselves out. If you're dumb enough to use, you deserve what happens. So sick of Narcan. Drug use is a choice, not a disease. Stupid decisions get stupid prizes. Why should I, as a taxpayer, have to support other stupidity? Do not spend money on Narcan. Let these leeches die. Easier to fill out the death memo than all the paperwork associated with reviving them, than having to go back the next day and do it all over again.
My name is Amy. I'm 35 years old and I live in Westchester, Ohio. I started using drugs when I was 14 years old. I started out with marijuana. Over the next couple of years, between the ages of 15 and 19, I had several knee surgeries and was prescribed pain medication for all of those knee surgeries. By the time I was 18 years old, I was regularly using prescription pain medication, and I had graduated to cocaine, ecstasy, crystal meth, and Special K. And by the time I was 21 years old, I was pregnant and using crack cocaine, crystal meth, and prescription pain medicine. I would do anything and everything that it would take for me to get that next fix. If that meant walking 5 miles to the next city, I would do that. If that meant calling a church and telling the church that I needed money for my bills or needed money to help care for my children that I didn't have, that's what I would do. If that meant doctor shopping, if that meant selling my body, it was whatever it took. It didn't matter who I hurt or who I lied to or who I walked away from. It didn't matter that I gave up my child when she was a year old. It didn't matter that my own mother wouldn't speak to me anymore. It didn't matter that I couldn't even look in the mirror and like what I see. It came to a point where overdosing and dying was a welcomed thought, because that meant that I didn't have to hurt anyone anymore. That meant that I didn't have to live the lifestyle that I was living, always chasing, always running, always looking over my shoulder, robbing people, stealing from people, being assaulted. Finally, I found myself in a different state. in an abusive relationship. I hadn't spoken to my mother or my oldest daughter in almost a year. And I began getting heroin from who I was told were Mexican cartel members. And I started using black tar heroin. The first time that I overdosed, I was pushed out of a vehicle and left for dead in a parking lot in Indiana somewhere. I remember waking up and realizing what was going on, and there were EMS and police all around me. I was somewhere that I didn't remember how I had gotten there, but I knew that I had heroin in my pants. I was alone, I was afraid, and I didn't want to go to jail. I didn't want to go into treatment. And I remember signing that piece of paper that I didn't want to go to the hospital, and I started to walk away. I didn't know where I was going to go or how I was going to get there, because the people that I was with left me for dead in a parking lot. And I was walking away, these people came back. But they only came back because I still had the heroin that they had given me money to purchase for them. They only came back because I had their dope. They didn't come back because I almost died. Within about 2 months after that, I woke up one day and realized that the only way that I was going to get out of that abusive marriage, the only way I was going to speak to my mom again, the only way I was going to speak to my child again, the only way I was going to get my soul back was if I stopped using heroin. I had no money, I had no needles, and I had no heroin. But I was still alive. And I was still alive because I had been given Narcan. I went into a dual diagnosis treatment center and spent about 7 days and did a detox program. And when I walked out of that program, I never looked back. I decided that I was done. I wanted my life back. I wanted to be someone that could feel things again. I wanted to be someone that I could be proud of. I knew that there was something better for me out there, and I was ready to go and find it. You know, I don't know who the EMS workers were that came on the call and gave me Narcan. I don't know how I can find that information. But if I could say something to those individuals, and if they could hear it, I want them to know that because of Narcan, I've been in recovery for 5 years, since 2012. Now I'm a counselor, and I'm a peer recovery supporter. I'm a wife with a beautiful, healthy, and happy marriage. I have another baby. God gave me a second chance to be a mother. And I'm able to have a good relationship with my older daughter too. My family trusts me. My family believes in me. I have an entire community behind me that support every single move I make. When I look in the mirror today, I love who I am. I love everything about myself, and I love everything that I get to do today and the life that I live. And that's all because I was given Narcan.
My name's Chris. I'm 26 years old. My drug of choice is heroin, marijuana, when I was 16 years old. I moved out of my mom's at 16. had my own place. I finished high school. I thought life was going good for me. I was experimenting with pain pills. My grandma got prescribed pain pills my whole life. I started experimenting with her pain pills on the weekend, and it started progressing. My uncle did heroin. I seen him as being weak. I wanted to see what the big gossip was with it. I seen that he was how can I say this? He would get sick if he didn't have it, and he also would tell me that the pain pills that I was doing was the exact same thing as heroin. So one day I went to go buy some so I wouldn't have to drive him back to the place where I took him to get it from. I bought my own, and I done some. Whenever I got back, it was the best, worst feeling of my life, flat out. I had a seizure the next morning. I had continued doing it that night. Went to the hospital. They kept me in ICU for like a month. Found out my kidneys was working at like 10% and my heart was working at 15. You know, they told me that my life, I would have a short period of life if I do recover from what happened to me. So I got out the hospital, continued to use, overdosed again, and the paramedics saved my life, and then I got busy living. You know, I was sick and tired of being sick and tired of the same thing that just kept happening to me. So, you know, I got a sponsor. I continued to go to meetings, you know, and if it wasn't for the paramedics that saved my life that day, I wouldn't be here sitting here talking to you. I am extremely grateful for everything that you've done to me. You know, everything that you have done, you know, to help me have a life and have my son back in the picture. You know, I'm a full-time dad now. You know, I help new guys out. You know, I do everything that I can do to help someone else out and get the same information that helps me stay clean on a day-to-day basis. I pray to God. I got a God whenever I was in the hospital. You know, so I put my faith and my trust in Him here and not the doctors. You know, so I really started trusting Him a lot more. And I'm just really grateful to be here. You know, I'm really grateful to be able to do this. I've been clean for 7 months, a little over 7 months clean, you know, so.
My name's Billy. I'm 39 years old. I'm from Dayton, Ohio. I first started using drugs when I was a teenager. I think I was around 16 when I started with I always used the term party drugs. I was going to lots of raves. I was eating lots of ecstasy, marijuana, stuff like that. I didn't really develop a problem, an addiction problem, until several years later. I joined the Air Force, and about 2.5 years into that, I had some kidney problems. Had to have several operations on my kidney. I was on convalescent leave for 18 months, so I was getting about 130 Percocets a month, and I just couldn't stop. So my orders came through, and I had the pills one day, and then the next day they just took them away. And I spent the next 15 years struggling with that addiction, and it escalated from pills to the last 5 years I was doing IV heroin, fentanyl, mix of other things, as meth and coke as well, but the heroin and the fentanyl is definitely what I needed every day. So over the course of that 15 years, it was very expensive, not just monetarily. I lost my career in the military, ended up getting court-martialed, did 6 months in a military holding facility at Shaw Air Force Base. I lost my wife, my son. I still get to see him now, but he'll never be able to live with me probably because of what happened. He currently lives 2,000 miles away from me. So over those years, I tried probably a dozen different times to get clean. One of the methods that I tried was to move. I tried to run away from it, and I moved to several different states. I was in Kansas, South Carolina, Florida, Kentucky, and I ended up back here in Dayton, Ohio, where I had overdosed. I've overdosed several times, but here in Dayton was the only time that Narcan was used on me, and that happened on 2 separate occasions. The first time was in a buddy of mine's bathroom or whatever, and I don't really, obviously don't remember a whole lot about the situation, and in fact, when I woke up, the only thing I wanted to do was just get back out so I could do some more. I had no interest in getting clean at all. The second time was about a little over 2 years ago, and I was in my girlfriend at the time's car. They had to, the paramedics had to, or the fire department rather, had to bust the windows out to pull me out of the car. Apparently I had drifted into somebody else's car. I was driving while I was doing this, so I drifted into somebody's car, and the first responders came and pulled me out. They Narcan me. I believe I was given 4 doses of Narcan that day. And at that time, it was several months before I actually got into treatment again, but that was the time that I kind of struck a chord where I wanted to actually reach out and ask for help. All right, so I went to my mom and my little sister, who were the only family members that hadn't completely written me off yet for stealing all their stuff and selling it for dope. So they had made arrangements for me to go to a treatment center. Now it was for insurance reasons. It took me about 4 months to actually go into the center here in Dayton. And during that time, it was, I was still getting high every single day, but I wanted to get clean. I was unable to stop it on my own, but I knew I was going to treatment. I wasn't avoiding it. I knew no matter what, I was going to go to treatment when that bed day came. So when I got out, probably the single biggest difference was the support that I had. I have all my families around here now. I had something to prove to them. They weren't willing to just help me, no matter what. I had to show them that I was willing and able to do this. But once I demonstrated that, they certainly came through. All those times I've tried in other states, there's no way I could have done it by myself. So I've been clean for it's about 1.5 years now without anything, and I don't count the days because I don't like the idea of having to start over from 1 if I mess up. Unfortunately, it doesn't have to be, but for most people, relapse is part of recovery. So that's the reason that I don't count my days. I think that those days that, because in the past I had relapsed on several occasions, but that clean time, man, I worked hard for that. That's part of my recovery. I don't want to just etch-a-sketch it away and pretend like it never happened because I screwed up one day. So that's the reason I don't count my days. But I do know it's been about 1.5 years. In that time, since Narcan was used on me that last time and I went to treatment, I am currently a recovery advocate with families of addicts. I'm a certified peer supporter. I work with with several different outreach initiatives here in the city of Dayton, Ohio. I work with everyone from federal all the way down to local law enforcement, so DEA, Ohio State Patrol, Montgomery County Sheriff's Department, and the Dayton Police here, and we respond to overdoses. We get people into treatment every week. All of which would not have been possible if I was dead, obviously, and I owe that to the first responders here in Dayton who on 2 separate occasions made an effort to save my life, so thank you guys very much for that.
My name's Christy, I'm 32 and I'm from Miamisburg, Ohio. I started using drugs at the age of 14. I started off with marijuana. I quickly went to harder drugs. I moved on to ecstasy, cocaine. At the age of 15, 16, I got pregnant at 17, right before I graduated high school. And the first part of my pregnancy, I did not know I was pregnant, and I was using ecstasy and cocaine. After I had my son, I moved on to heroin at the age of 19 when my son was 1. I basically was using drugs as a way to escape. I didn't really have a specific reason. I wasn't happy with myself, and drugs made that better. I was able to be the life of the party, the fun person to be around, and I started by snorting heroin, and then did that for about 1 year. And by the time I was 20, I was an everyday IV heroin user. Through my addiction, I was always able to keep a job. I was still am a licensed cosmetologist. I always did bartending and was very good at hiding my addiction because I had to, because I was a mother, and my family was not associated with drugs. So they didn't know anything about drugs. So I didn't want them to know, and I didn't want to be an embarrassment. And at the age of 23, I was busted for my first felony, and I was incarcerated. And after my incarceration, I went to rehab. And since then, I have been to 4 inpatient rehabs, 5 outpatient rehabs. numerous incarcerations. I have numerous felonies, numerous misdemeanors, and back then I was always trying to find a way to get high, and would go to these rehabs and jails or whatever just to please the judge, please my parents, please whoever it was, or to make it look good. I had been clean off heroin for about 17 months, and I started school at Sinclair to be a chemical dependency counselor, and I got my first school check, about $3,000, and I got the idea to go get a bunch of heroin and cocaine, and my addiction picked up right where it left off, and my life was crazy again, and it was like I hit my face on the ground before I even knew it. And I had tried to get clean again and was going to a Suboxone clinic and got on Vivitrol, and I let my Vivitrol wear off. So I'd been off heroin for about 60 days at this point, and I used heroin and I overdosed, and my father found me in the hallway. My father, being a retired fire chief and EMT, called 911, and the people that came to save my life have known me since I was a little girl. And I remember waking up in the hospital and being very confused and angry and not thankful to anybody for saving my life at this point, only worried about not being high, being sick, if I was going to go to jail, not wanting to go to treatment, which ended up being the agreement that I go to treatment the next morning and I wouldn't have to go to jail. So I then went home from the hospital, and I told my parents I was getting in the shower, and the police did not find my heroin. So I shot up again, and I was dead in the bathroom, and my father had to bust the bathroom door in and give me CPR at this point and call the paramedics again. I had about 9 shots of Narcan this day, and they took me back to the hospital, and the only thing I can really remember is being so angry as to why I didn't die. At this point in my life, I let my addiction take me to the point where I didn't care. I didn't care who I hurt. I didn't care who was affected. I didn't care if my 13-year-old son had a mother. I was just mad. And when I went to treatment, I was mad for about 3 weeks before I was really into it. And I got into trouble with the law again for inducing panic, for overdosing. And the judge was not happy with me, and I was court ordered to do 90 meetings in 90 days. And I did that, and I felt that that was very beneficial to where I'm at today. And I now have 14 months clean, and I have a good relationship with my son. For me, I'm lucky that I never really lost that. He never gave up on me. He's never lost hope. He's a strong kid. I would like to thank Miamisburg Fire Department, mainly Jack Eichert, and my father for saving my life on April 21st, 2016.
Hi, my name's Shelley from Middletown, Ohio. I'm 33 years old. I started using drugs when I was 13, experimenting mostly off and on weed, alcohol through high school. It wasn't until I had a hysterectomy that I actually got addicted to opiate painkillers. I had a medical device that was pretty dangerous, and I had the hysterectomy, which led to narcotics after narcotics after narcotics. After the hysterectomy, he had punctured my kidney, removing the coil, so I had abscess set up and paralyzed me with sepsis, which put me in the hospital for 14 days in ICU, which more painkillers, stronger painkillers, and So when they released me, I was cut off of them painkillers. Everything was supposed to be good, fine. Well, I couldn't find them on the street. They were getting few and far between. So I started drug doctor seeking, and anywhere and everywhere I could find them. Well, when those got few and far between, I was introduced to heroin. From there on, I knew what that drug was. I knew what it was about. I knew what it would do to me. So I figured, well, if I just snort a little bit, I'll be all right. So when I thought I was in control of it, it actually showed me a different story, and it took control of me. So one thing led to another. My tolerance level got to where I couldn't control it. I had to have more. So I started using more. It was 2013 when I started using heroin. For 3 years, it would say off and on for 6 months. Dibbled in and out of it, dibbled in and out of it. 2015, April, I got a bed at Sojourner after I did some inpatient to get a bed for Sojourner. I got my bed April 20th, 2014. When I got out of Sojourner in June of 2015, I went right back to where I was, same relationship, same lifestyle, same people, same places, same things. Didn't work my recovery, didn't work anything that I learned in the treatment center. I was complacent. I thought I had this under control. What I failed to realize was I was still the same sick, depressed person that I was when I walked in there. So one thing led to another. Christmas time come around, holidays come around, the boyfriend, the abuse. I thought I would self-medicate with the Klonopin. Well, then it led from 1 Klonopin to 25 Klonopin. And the next thing I knew, I blacked out. I stole money off of his card. I went right back to the same amount I was using when I stopped, $180 worth of heroin. The boyfriend left me there for dead. To find out it was about 1:30 in the evening when he left, that my son come home from a friend's house, and I was slumped over the vacuum cleaner with my 3-year-old there trying to fill my eyeballs open to wake mommy up. So yeah, I was a functioning mother, so I thought. But my son saved my life that day, and the medics got there about 4:30. 2 minutes away from possibly never being awake again to see them another day. I was Narcan 3 times by Middletown medics, and my children were removed from my care. I went to the hospital. I remember coming in and out on the gurney with ammonia under my nose, trying to push it away, angry, confused, and them asking me, "What did you use today?" I said, "I was trying to lie." And all my confusion, I'm lying. "Just Klonopin. No, you've used something else." I had used heroin as well, and I told them. Well, from 4:30 to 11:30, I spent in the hospital. Dazed and confused, I talked to my dad on the phone. "Well, they won't let me see you. We can't come back there. You're under arrest. They're coming to get you." I was so confused. I had no idea. I thought I was dreaming. I didn't know what was going on. So scared, out of my mind, I got up, got dressed. I went through the hospital at Atrium, robbing everything I could get my hands on. Sprite, water, milk, cookies, crackers, peanut butter. I was in survival mode. I didn't know what to do. I was confused. So I made my way to a telephone. I realized I had $25 on me. First thing I did was call my dope boy. "I'm sick. I just OD'd. I need to get with you. I got money." "All right, I'll see you when you get here." So I go to the front desk and I'm like, "I need a taxi ride home, please." They call for a taxi ride home. I sit outside bumming cigarettes till he gets there, still dazed and confused. Get a cigarette, smoking on the taxi coming. Here he comes. "Well, are you Shelly?" "Yeah." Let me confirm this." So he comes back out and he says, "Your ride's been canceled." I'm like, oh no, what do I do now? How am I gonna get to the dope boy? I'll walk. So I'm sitting there thinking of how I'm gonna get there. Middletown police roll up. Hi, Shelley. Are you Miss? Do you need a ride? Actually, yes, I do. So he goes in, he comes back out. He was like, all right, you're going with me. I have a warrant for your arrest. Please turn around. And I was handcuffed and took to the Middletown City Jail. That's where I was thrown in a pickle soup in a holding cell. And I then had to realize this was it. This was my rock bottom. Me walking into rehab on my own was not my rock bottom. He had another rock bottom for me. And that's what took me to realize that's not the lifestyle I want for my children to grow up. And I want them to know that I can be the mother I can be for them. So after I detoxed in jail off of Narcan, off the Claudin, off the heroin, I was released to general population. And then after 29 days down there, I was sent to Butler County Jail. I had gotten charged with child endangerment ×2, possession of heroin, abuse of heroin. I wanted to plead out, please just let me go, let me go. It wasn't gonna go like that. It was a felony. I had no other choice but to be bound over. So here I am, my first charge with drugs and feeling ruined. I go and I'm bound over to Butler County Jail, where I have to stay longer than 3 days and read the manual and actually know how the jail system works. To say the least, I had a spiritual awakening while I was in there. I spent 23 days out of 24 in my cell, or 23 hours out of 24 in my cell with nothing but time to think. And that's when I realized I've got to get it together. I want to live more than I want to die. I want to be clean more than I want to use drugs. Recovery is possible if you work it. One isn't fit for all. There's psychiatry, there's NA, there's medicated assist, there's spiritual, there's religion. There's something out there for everybody. You just have to want it and you have to work it. And help is out there and it is available, but you have to ask. Just believe in yourself enough to ask for help. And with that being said, I would like to thank the Middletown Police Department and the Middletown Fire Department again for saving my life, giving me a second chance at this, because without you guys, my children would not have a mother, my mother and father would not have a daughter, and I would not be able to be the aunt and sister and loving, caring person that I am today in my community, staying involved and trying to help others. I have been clean 17 months.
Alright, so my name's Kyle Shaw. I'm 33 years old. I'm from Miamisburg, Ohio. I started smoking marijuana when I was 10 years old, and then moved from Miamisburg to Riverside, where I started experimenting with other drugs. By the time I was 15, I'd done every drug there was except for crack and heroin, skipping school and getting kicked out of Stebbins High School. When I turned 18, I got sick, and I had a rare type of cancer, and the treatment from that cancer literally was killing me. I went from 190 pounds to 150 in less than 2 months. That's when I got introduced to strong narcotic medications. I caught my first penitentiary case for possession of cocaine. I had got caught with a 1/4 ounce of cocaine, got probation and messed that up, so I went to prison. When I came home from prison, I started selling crack to support my habit. Then got arrested again and went to the penitentiary a second time for grand theft of firearms and weapons under disability. And that was in 2010. When I came home from prison, my drug of choice was pain pills. But the pills got real hard to find and heroin just started popping up everywhere. First time I did heroin, I didn't like it. I snorted a cap and it took forever to kick in, and when it did, I was puking my brains out, so I didn't like it. But as the pills got harder and harder to find and the heroin got easier and easier to get, it became my drug of choice. By 2011, I was completely strung out, and I ended up overdosing. I remember I had some Xanaxes, and I had taken these Xanaxes and I went to get some dope, and I decided that I didn't want to drive with the dope in my pocket because I was so high on the Xanaxes that I thought that I would get pulled over and get caught with dope. So I figured I'd just do it all. So I did 3 caps of heroin in the parking lot of Kroger's on Needmore and Dixie, and I overdosed. I don't remember it. I don't know anything except for the fact that I woke up in Grandview Hospital. I know that the fire department did show up and Narcan me, and I was revived. And then I remember waking up in the hospital. I really didn't know how I got there. I remembered bits and pieces of what had happened, but I just couldn't put it all together until later on everybody started telling me what had happened. My drug addiction continued in and out of jail, getting high, trying the methadone, trying Suboxone. I tried all the different routes to try and get clean and was unsuccessful. 2013 was the last time I got high. September 5th, 2013 was the last time I got high. I'd been doing what I thought was good, just smoking weed and taking pills here and there and taking Suboxone, and first of the month rolled around and I had a bunch of deals set up, so I figured I'd do these deals and go out and get high one more time and then go back to taking Suboxone, and it didn't work like that. I ended up on a week-long bender, smoking crack, eating Xanaxes, doing heroin, robbing and stealing everything that I could. I got arrested and I went to the county jail, and I realized that I didn't have nothing to show for in life. I was like 29 years old and really didn't have anything. And that was when I was just sick and tired of being sick and tired. So I decided that I needed to try a new way of life. So I hit my knees and I surrendered and I cried out and I asked God into my life. I came home from the county jail and I started getting involved in community services. I started doing volunteering at One Bistro in Miamisburg, getting involved in my local church. I did AA, NA, Celebrate Recovery. I didn't discriminate against recovery. I just hit a meeting every night and went to the gym and worked out and tried to get involved and try to be of service to other people. I came home to the same exact circumstances that I left, the same house I grew up in, same house I sold drugs out of. I had the same telephone number for 9 years. I sold drugs off of that phone. My mom was in active addiction. My next door neighbors were selling drugs. So like the odds were stacked against me. Today, I have 3.5 years clean. Like I said, last time I got high was September 5th, 2013. Today, I'm the CEO of a nonprofit. I run a ministry called Whole Truth Ministries, which is a recovery discipleship program for men. We have a transitional house in Riverside for guys that are coming out of treatment and the penitentiary. And we have some small businesses that support that ministry. We do landscaping, tree work, and general construction and painting. I just really want to thank the paramedics that saved my life that day, the first responders, and all those that are out there doing what they're doing today. And I know it gets stressful. I know that like some people don't ever see the positives or the bright sides of things, but it's really making a difference. It made a difference for me, and it's making a difference for tons of other people. I know several people that have been successful in their recovery, and they have been saved by Narcan. So we just want to say thank you guys.